welcome to Matburn. We're at Studio C in Calera, Alabama at the Warrior Wrestling Complex. And this is our Virginia Beach National Championship show. I'm sitting here with Shad Rizzler, the head coach of the national team of Alabama, Elizabeth Rosenstiel, national champion, Cody Kirk, national champion. Welcome to Matburn. I love your shirts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You wore the right thing. Did you plan this? Did you call each other?
Yeah, actually, I planned it for us.
Yeah. Good. So you're a natural born leader.
Exactly.
Yeah. So first I want to say that from what I saw, this is one of your best years ever, right, Chad?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a list of the people who All-Americaned. And we got Keon Simon, runner-up. Will Atkinson, 5th place. Anaya Vine, 7th place. Yannick Simon, 7th place. Bradley Williams, 8th place. DeMarcus Poe, 8th place. Neva Turner, 6th place. And I think there was a middle school kid too, right?
Yeah, that kid was from
Gulf Shores?
Gulf Shores, Daphne High School.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not Daphne High School, Gulf Shores High
Gulf
School.
Shores, yeah. Yep. I don't have his name on the list. Do you?
No, he actually just moved this past year from Georgia. I forgot his name too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look that up. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I watched your finals match. I was
Thank
pretty
you.
impressed. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, how was your experience there?
It was
Ladies
great.
first, yes.
It was fun. I had a good time. I enjoyed wrestling, and I enjoyed the time outside wrestling too.
You know, Shaq called me up last year. He said, "There's this girl. You gotta watch her wrestle. She's awesome." And it was you. Yeah. Did you go to Fargo last year?
Yes, sir.
I think that's when you called me and told me you did pretty well there.
Not as well as I wanted.
Was it
to.
Virginia Beach or Super
Virginia
32?
Beach.
She won
I won
nationals last year.
nationals last
So this is 2 times.
year. Yes, sir.
Holy cow.
Yes, sir.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
I saw you won state.
Yes, sir.
I was on the next mat over doing the 1 through 5A
Okay.
girls. I didn't
Yes,
get to
sir.
do, but I had my eye on that. And I saw Thompson have these big upsets
Yes.
to win state this year.
Yes.
Congratulations.
They worked out very well for us. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very impressive. Some big wins. You won handily, I could say.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So were you undefeated this year?
I had one loss in the finals at the Stampede in
Kansas City.
Kansas City, Missouri.
Cool.
Yes.
Which is like one of the toughest in-season tournaments for girls wrestling.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard of the Stampede. Yeah.
So that was my one loss this year.
2.
I don't know her name.
Never got revenge on her then?
No. But it was in overtime. At the very end, she scored a takedown, so it was close up until the very end. So.
All right, so I saw your final. I was very impressed. And one thing I noticed about you is that you seem to be a very cerebral wrestler. You seem to be very aware situationally of where you are on the mat, and that the other guy had, stall calls and how to use them to your advantage to make sure you won that match. I was very impressed.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Unless you weren't aware and you just lucked out. I mean, were you? I mean, there was that one time he had your leg up near the end of the circle, edge of the circle, and it looked like he was going to take you down, and you just grambied right out of bounds, knew exactly where you were, no takedown, and then when he had the 2 stall calls, he knew exactly. When I saw you stand up, you just stood there waiting for another stall call. He had to let you go.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty smart. Yeah. So I saw your record in high school was 52-3.
Yes.
So where did the 3 come from?
Our first tournament of the year, the Gulf Coast, I lost in the finals. And then the other 2 are from a tournament, I think, right before Christmas.
Gotcha. You won your state championship by a major, right?
Yes, sir.
Very impressive. Pike Road had an awesome season this year. We did the dual championships, and when I saw Pike Road was in the tournament, in the semifinals, I was like, really?
Yeah, we
It's
had a good
impressive.
season.
Yeah, so you almost beat Gardendale in the 3rd place match. So that was pretty impressive. Who was your toughest match this year?
Toughest match this year? I mean, can I say my finals or can I say my semis at high school nationals?
Sure. Yeah, that's one I didn't get to watch. I only watched the final.
Yeah, I won in the last like 14 seconds. It's like when I had a reverse and put him to his back.
Oh, we're gonna definitely watch that then.
Yeah, it was a very good match. It was the end of the third. Yep, he was down. It was down. I mean, it was 0-0 at that point. No, it was 1-0.
It was 1-0.
1-0. He was losing. Yeah, and he was on bottom, and he reversed the guy to his back and pinned him. Yeah, and that guy's a Little Rock commit. He's going to Little Rock next year. He's a 4-time state champ from Rhode Island, right? From Rhode Island. Yeah.
So, are we thinking of wrestling in college?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Where?
North Central College.
Where's that?
Illinois. It's in
Okay.
Gainesville.
Davidson in North
Oh,
Carolina.
very nice. Very nice. Did they come up to you after the Virginia Beach?
I was committed before, but yeah, they were watching all my matches.
If you had already committed and they signed you, then why do you keep wrestling? Aren't you worried about getting hurt before you go there?
No,
Some people do.
that's not the competition.
Yeah, that's what I hear. The fact that you're at practice today is impressive.
Yes,
Are you
sir.
planning to go to Fargo?
Yes, sir.
Nice. All right, so I want to know your origin stories. How did you get started in wrestling? Because everyone's got a story, right?
I started my freshman year. It was the first year that Northridge had a girls program, and so my friend who had been like sort of part of the boys program came up to me and she was like, "Oh, you should join. Like, at least come and try it." And I was like, "Okay, you know, I might as well just try it out." And I loved it, and I just kept.
What
going
year were
back.
you?
Freshman.
Freshman?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So. that
And
was
they
it.
hadn't sanctioned girls wrestling yet.
No, they had not. So this was the first year that girls wrestling was sanctioned in Alabama.
Right. But was it girls only back then? Or did you have to wrestle the boys?
It was girls only. So there was like there was a girls championship that was held, but it wasn't sanctioned. So, yeah.
All right, so you showed up and what happened?
I mean, I was pretty good at it, like at all.
Like right away?
I mean, I was decent.
Were you wrestling boys in practice or?
No, it was all girls
It was all
for the
girls,
first
okay.
part. So for my freshman year, we had only girls practice, but then there were some boys that would come and help out with practice, and I would wrestle around with them some, but that was pretty much it. And I didn't do much club over the off season that year, but then my sophomore year, I picked it up with girls practice and wrestling some of the boys in boys practice. And then after my sophomore year over the summer is when I started coming to club consistently. And that's when I really made jumps in progress and how good I was.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
So were you an athlete in other sports prior to
Yes, so I played soccer.
that? That was my sport growing up.
Okay, yeah. I played outside back for Northridge, and I loved it, but I just didn't
So you
see
have good
myself.
balance, you have good footwork, you're fast. Is that accurate? No? That's what soccer players are good at.
When I played soccer, yeah.
What about wrestling?
I wouldn't say I'm that fast. I think
All right, so what are your strengths?
I think my strengths, I think I'm stronger than most of my opponents, and that puts me at an advantage. I think I'm stronger than most of the girls I wrestled.
What would you say your strength is?
I would put that. I would also say she's like way more mentally tougher than 99% of girls. She's mentally tougher than every girl I've ever coached.
It looked like the girl you wrestled in the finals broke. In the third
Yeah,
period.
and I could feel
And
it.
it was just
Same
she
thing
did it on
happened
her.
last year too.
Yeah. She looked like she was tough on top, but when she got on the bottom, she just gave up because she realized she wasn't getting up.
Yeah, I knew that as long as I kept my pressure, she wasn't gonna go anywhere.
Did she almost turn you?
I don't think so.
No.
No, I don't think so. I think it was pretty pretty much like whenever I was on top or on bottom, like
You were in control.
I was comfortable.
Okay. Excellent. And
We were more worried about her trying to throw headlocks and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like that, the girl had a really bad, would reach with her lead hand, which is something we teach not to do. And we knew she was going to try to bait her into it. She's a kind of a judo background and so on. So we knew her underhooks would come into play a lot and just force her out of bounds, or she's going to have to pressure to stop her from forcing out of bounds. Then we'll snap and go behind. And she worked that really well.
Played out exactly how we thought it would.
Yeah, we got a game plan.
good coaching,
Yes.
right?
Very good coaching.
And your origin story.
Well, I started in 6th grade in West Virginia.
Really?
Yeah. So I had a buddy who wrestled. He told me to go to practice or like tryouts. So I went. I mean, I liked it. So just continued wrestling. And after that year, I moved to Enterprise, and I wrestled there from 7th grade to 10th grade year. And then after the 10th grade season, we moved to Pike Road, and then that's when over that summer, I really started training here. Yeah, after that 10th grade season, I really started going up here to Warrior, and that's when I got much better. And really over the last year is when I really started getting tough and getting after it.
So you didn't do any club wrestling up until last year?
No, I did. I mean, I did Assassins when I was in Enterprise, and then this is the best club in the state, so I had to.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, so I had to come up here.
His family did a lot of, it took a lot on the family, but they made it work, and he moved up here, a little closer to the club, because, Pike Road, of course, is a lot closer than Enterprise. And on top of that, pretty much the last 2 summers he lived with me, Cody did, so he stayed at my house all summer, last summer and the summer before, and you could try to see a lot of gains from there.
I mean, I moved up here my senior year.
Yeah.
I was in Tuscaloosa at Northridge.
That's where my wife went to school.
Okay, yeah, cool. I liked it there, but I wrestled there my junior year, and then we would just make the drive here whenever we had to, and then after that, we moved up here, and so now I go to Thompson, and get to wrestle there, get to wrestle here, become close to everything. It's really nice.
Very nice.
Yes, sir.
So how do you like wrestling for Coach Wilson?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's the best, yeah. And the cool thing is my coach at Northridge also moved. He got a job at Thompson.
Really?
Yes.
Who's that?
Edward Love.
Oh, I haven't met him.
He's the head girls coach for Thompson.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
I love it. It's awesome. I like how Coach Wilson coaches.
It's pretty zen-like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very zen. Very different from Shad. I like them how they both coach, but it's just very different. It's like
Whenever I'm with
Shad.
Shad, I tell him he's the best coach in Alabama. And whenever
Yes.
I'm with Sean, I tell him he's the best coach in Alabama.
Yeah. It's like
It's hard to
apples
decide,
and
right?
oranges,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, very different, but both very, very good coaches.
Yeah, but if you live in this area, you get the best of both.
Best
right?
of both, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
awesome.
if you had advice to give to a young wrestler who looks up to you and says, I want to be them one day, what would you tell them?
Just
Eat your Wheaties?
you just gotta be consistent.
Yeah, go to practice and
Yeah.
work hard. Sometimes it's gonna suck.
Well, there are a lot of kids who go to practice and work hard, but they're not national champs.
Yeah.
What's the secret sauce?
Just staying committed.
You gotta want it more? Is that what it
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, showing up every day,
Every day.
working
Do
hard.
more than you think you should. Like, a lot of times I'll feel like I'm not doing enough. Like, even when I'm doing way more than everyone else. I still feel like there's always someone that's probably doing more than me. So I always,
Some kid in Iowa
yeah,
is getting up 10 minutes before you,
yeah,
running 10 feet farther than you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I always think about someone else who might be doing more than me. And I always try and do the most that I can.
I think part of that is going with what they're saying is not finding excuses, and then also on top of that, doing extra. So like a lot of people, you know, and it could be in practice today, chose not to show up today, and they wrestled yesterday and they lost. So they had the choice to either show up and get better today and fix what they did. They both won, you know what I mean? They showed up because they want to continue to improve. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And I think, and for an example, recently, you know, 2 weeks before Virginia Beach, Cody had spring break, and he stayed at my house all spring break, and he trained 2 days. Some people will look at that as an excuse to be able to go on family vacation, or an excuse to go do other things. He doesn't find that as his parents went to Disney World while he was staying with me.
Wow.
And he had a choice right there, right, what to do. And those are the little extras that they continue to do to make themselves elite and make themselves a national championship.
Yeah, I used to say the same things to my kids.
Yep.
That when they lost, which wasn't often, well, you know, what are you going to do about it? And he always said, I'm going to practice tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's always the answer. Right?
It's a huge, and I think a lot of people can either, and that's why a lot of people instead, you know, I'm just going to take the day off, or I'm going to do that. And those things all add up at the end of the year, right? And like you can look back and see how many times you decided not to go to practice, or was injured, not, you know, physically hurt, but just, you know, I have a little boo-boo, and I showed you not to go to practice, versus guys like them who are very consistent in their practice routine. And he drives an hour and a half every day one way, you know, Pike Road. So you got to figure that out. And I think some of these got to figure that out too. Like what's, you know, instead of excuses, I'm going to find ways around it and find ways to continue to improve. We were talking about today in practice with Elizabeth. She is the first person to always ask questions about a position. Like she's not just here to just go through the routine. She's going to make sure she masters the skill that we're teaching. And that takes someone who is like, I want to continue to improve themselves. So I think both of us good. Those are kind of the backside of things too. So if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. How do you balance the need for athletes to come consistently, yet need rest to recover, and maybe even mentally take a break so that you don't get burned out?
So I don't believe in being burnout. I believe when people say they're burnt out, I think is they forget the why. So when you want to be a national champ, you can't be burnt out because you're always trying to improve to get to that point, right? When you forget why you're wrestling, it's easy to say I'm burnt out. But I do think in the summer times we train really, really hard. We do 3 days, 4 days on, 3 days off. And usually those 3 days are off for like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So like Friday, Saturday, they go hang out with their parents, have fun, go on a beach or a lake or whatever. And then on Sunday, midday after church time, we can get back and go to practice. So I think that kind of gives and takes. But also, I mean, we all know that they practice 5 days a week for high school season practice, and we're training for competition that's a higher level than that. So like we have to have a tougher regimen, and we have to be training harder than they do in season if we want to get to a national championship and win it. So I think they got to kind of figure that out too. But it also, we have a good community of supportive parents that back us for what we say. You know, his dad's the first one to get hard on him, same as her. Both of these are also 4.0 students. She has a 34 ACT. So like saying all that stuff, those are skills around that people don't see. Like they're good human beings. That's why they're good at sports too. So the balance is they know how to balance themselves. They don't have to manage themselves. They don't call me and say, hey, I'm missing today because I have a test on Monday. They've been studying for that test for the last week. So I think they've learned how to manage their balance, and they have a good support system at home. We have really good parents that support us. And I think some of the people who don't reach their goals, they don't have that. Or they're finding themselves excuses instead of solutions. If that makes sense. So
It does. So if you had to, look at the progression of Alabama wrestling from the time you started here
15
until
years
now,
ago.
yeah, it's been a while, but you still look the same as you did back then.
No, we didn't.
You weren't even here.
Oh, no. He went from young to old.
So, back then, we had very few people who could compete at that national level. And now it almost feels like just about any state champ could compete at that national level. So what has changed?
It's hard to say, but I think part of that is we're first of all, we're having guys going to college consistently every year. Like since I think I've been here for 15 years, probably the last 10 years, we've had minimally 2 to 3, maximally of 10 or 15 that have gone to Division I schools and some other divisions and so on and stuff too. And that's helped those guys come back and have people see that you can do it, right? So, and that goes as far as back as, Sam and Will Miller, all these guys that are graduating, they were winning national titles in high school, and they were like, and now the younger generation are seeing it. They were able to see that. Both of them, I don't think as much as Elizabeth. I think she's kind of been a foundation a little bit into girls wrestling in the way of like, hey, you can go win national titles. But Cody has definitely seen multiple national champs that come in front of him while he was at Virginia Beach. Because you got to think about it. Besides last year when Elizabeth won, it was the only one. The years before we had 2 people win it in almost every year. We had James Latona and who won it that year with him. Will Conlon won it 2 of those years, and then it was Isaiah and Will Conlon won it together, and then James and James and Vines won together. So those were both national champs 2 at a time, and so now the next generation before them were saying, oh, like it can happen. And I think the biggest difference is more of a commitment of kids seeing that, like, if you really, really commit and you put all your time into it, you can do this. And I think so. I think it's really just commitment. I think there's also a lot more opportunities for other clubs like Elevate, Ironclad. There's clubs in Huntsville now with JP's club and Bob Jones' club, and there's clubs down south with Jeff Coates' son has a club down there, and there's McWhorter's back and he's running a club down there. So opportunity leads to success too. And then I think part of that too is kids have a high success going to high school state tournaments. Then they want to even get better, and so they look out for these clubs and they go to those clubs. You know what I'm saying? And social media has done that, a big presence in that. You posting podcasts in the last 10 years, that's showed the opportunities and shows the success, so people see it, right? And then also they see where they can go and find competition, and then also see how they can reach that competition from these clubs. So I think that's a big thing, have an opportunity. 15 years ago when I first got here, probably 80% of the state, first off, the south of Montgomery didn't even have wrestling. And then also outside of Birmingham, they didn't have middle school wrestling really. And we remember battling all those things, and now we have those opportunities. There's wrestling programs in the south. There's middle school programs that are competing with each other. That's a big deal. That's a lot of opportunity, and that's a lot of more numbers of wrestling. I think our USA wrestling numbers have doubled in the last 10 years. That's huge. You know what I mean? That means, and for people who don't understand what USA wrestling, for high school level, that's off-season wrestling. So if our off-season numbers are doubling, that means the participation is doubling. And that's huge. That's a big deal. Yesterday, at the Swamp Donkey, in all 3 age groups, there was 300, 350 people participating in each age group. So 900 total, but really that's the same person maybe, and all folks on first time, but still 350 people participating in yesterday's tournament. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that tournament has the best name.
It does. Flow Wrestling got to it. They posted about it.
Did they really?
Yeah, they said weirdest names of wrestling tournaments, and then Swamp Donkey was one of them. It was kind of cool, little old Alabama.
I still haven't got my Swamp Donkey t-shirt. I need to get one of those. So how possible is it these days, compared to the old days, to become a state champ in Alabama, not club wrestling?
What do you guys think about that?
I think it depends on.
She's seen girls wrestling, grow. So.
I think for girls, it depends on what weight you go and what division you're in, because there are some girls, there's some girls in each weight that are really good and
Just
very
natural athletes,
high level, because they have been wrestling for a long time, or they wrestle club, and so there's 1 or 2 girls at certain weights that are really good. But then there are some weights with some holes in them where there's not really someone who's, I guess, sort of taking it over, if that makes sense. And so it sort of just depends on where you're at, like where you fall in place there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Similar to boys too. I mean, that's similar to dynamics. Like I think some of those bigger weight classes, you still have some freak football athletes and players and stuff like that with your 215. I wouldn't go as much 190, but 215 and heavyweight. You have that because I don't think that we don't have a huge participation of heavyweights yesterday in the tournament. So and we don't have a huge participation of heavyweights that wrestle at Virginia Beach or Fargo or so on. But there was a Willie. Willie kind of showed that. He had a really high success in all those tournaments. He's a 4-time Virginia Beach All-American, Fargo All-American. But I think those do, and then also I think we still have sometimes in divisions, smaller divisions. There's guys winning state titles who aren't wrestling in the off season. But I think it's with these clubs all over the state, from like I mentioned, and even Alpha Elite in Montgomery, they're allowing for these people to be part of their club, so they're bringing up the level of wrestling even in the smaller divisions. So I think I think in 10 years, maybe you're going to be speaking back, and there's no one who's very few that are state champs that don't wrestle 9 months out of the year. You know what I'm saying? But I think right now there's still some opportunity in the small divisions and also in the bigger weight classes.
How important is it to start early?
I think youth wrestling.
Can you just jump in middle school and start from there, or?
We still have participate. We've had national champs in the years past where they started in middle school. I mean, we can talk about Jordan Burroughs, right, who started in 9th or 8th grade or whatever he started in. I think it's just a very small percentage. I think it's going back to a lot of our youth. If you go back to our youth wrestlers who were state champs and so on, they're having high success in middle school, metro championships and so on, and those same kids are becoming really, really good in high school. If you go look about those 10 All-Americans that we were just talking about that we had from the club, all 10 of those All-Americans wrestled in youth or started at a very young age, besides Elizabeth. Cody started as a 7th grader, but the other 8, they started in youth and they were winning youth state titles. Bradley and Will Atkinson and all those guys, even Pose were. So I think that shows you that it does make a huge difference of starting at a younger age and continue to participate. We had actually 5 kids today that are wrestling currently right now at Adidas Nationals, and they're all K through 6th grade. They're all actually going for 3rd or 4th or 1st and 2nd as we speak. But that's a high percentage of kids that are going to wrestle in big national tournaments kind of by themselves. They went to Missouri today, and so on. So I think those guys eventually in 7 or 8 years, you're going to be sitting here talking about those kids too. You know what I mean? So I think it does matter to wrestle at a younger age. Now, can you go start in middle school and high school and have a success? I do think it's just harder. So.
Do you teach kids differently below a certain age?
I've tried to been working that, I've gotten pretty close with Kyler Sanderson, which is Kel Sanderson's brother. He runs a club in Utah. And he, I kind of pick his brain a lot because Utah is a very similar dynamic as us and with participation and numbers and so on. And he has a curriculum based on grade level and some stuff, and he changes a little bit. We have not in the past really. Like we strive to be very successful on our feet offensively and scoring points. So that doesn't really ever change from a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old to all the way to an 18-year-old. We do have a strong foundation of fundamentals and how we contact with hands and how we penetrate on shots, but it just kind of grows as they get older, if that makes sense. But if a kid is brand new at wrestling and they start as an 8th grader, we're going to go back to that foundation that we started our 8-year-olds or 7-year-olds. So it's not a huge difference, just kind of adding to it, if that makes sense, and breaking down technique and why a little bit differently so they understand why you're doing certain things. So.
What have you changed in the way you coach from when you first started until now? Like how you matured as a coach?
I screamed a lot.
Why are they laughing?
Yeah,
That's what I want to know.
I think I've matured a lot in the way of, I took a lot of things to heart as a younger coach. When I was in my mid-20s, I'm in my late 30s now, so when I was in my mid-20s, I used to, when a kid didn't show up to practice or a kid didn't do what I asked him to do, I would really take it personally,
yeah.
100%. Now I know there's a lot of variables, but I don't take it anymore. We hold each other accountable because we have a lot of group text messages, like our junior class or senior class and so on, and they're supposed to put their plan and goals on there. And when a kid doesn't show up to practice, we text them on that group text, so everyone else sees it. You know what I mean? And so instead of taking it to heart, I'm just gonna put it out there, and if they want to, and they have a choice at that point, right? I don't want to keep getting text messages and everyone kind of looking at me. I'm gonna show up to practice or I'm not, or sometimes those kids kind of weed themselves out maybe, and they don't come at all. But so I think that's where I don't scream as much, but I still get on them pretty hard, and it doesn't matter. I mean, I was in Cody's and Elizabeth's face 3 or 4 times throughout their national title journey in each match. When they were winning every match, right? But I was still getting on because we had things to fix, and we had things to fix right then because in half an hour we're going to wrestle again. So I'm still pretty over that. I think my relationship with my athletes have changed. I mean, it's grown a lot, and the way we hold each other accountable, and the way that we talk to each other, even, and we're a Christian organization. We put Bible verses in these text messages every day. They know that at least 3 or 4 days a week I'm putting a text out there, and they're liking it and they're commenting on it and stuff. I think my faith has grown, so my faith has grown in that area of coaching too, if that makes sense. I don't think my blood pressure goes up as much.
That's good.
I'm not having a heart attack, so.
All right, before I ask you this question, I'm going to ask Elizabeth.
Okay.
How should you coach girls differently than boys? I started the first girls club, so I have my own feelings on this, but I'm curious. So what do you think?
Maybe you should ask him that question first, and then.
And then you could tell him how wrong he is?
Yeah.
Elizabeth's been my first kind of guinea pig, or first girl that I've coached that's really been committed. We'll put that. I've coached a lot of girls over the
Guinea
years.
pigs are cute.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I've been coaching girls. Even your daughter came to the club. You know what I mean? I've been coaching a lot of girls, but she was the first one that's like really, really committed through high school and so on, and pushing to wanting to strive to compete. Girls are more analytical, so they ask more questions and they break down, and I think they actually pick up things faster. I think you have to they don't take, and we've talked about this before, very strong constructive criticism and not second guess. Like the other day I made a comment to her and she texted me, said, "Do you really mean that?" And so they take it to heart more, right? So I think they're a little bit more emotionally driven. But sayingly that, I think they learn faster. They're willing to grow faster too, willing to hey, you need to fix this and this is why and so on, and they do it. You know what I mean? But I think I have to not yell as much, maybe not say some smart comments as much to girls, because I think they take it hard. Yeah, 100%. And they'll shut down then, and then they're not improving. So I've had to learn that from her. But she's also shown me that they can work just as hard as the boys. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's something me and you battle, that the way of we coach, and do we have the practice as hard for them as for them, and I think she's shown that you can do that.
Sure.
And she can, and she's the first person to try to find, if she doesn't have a girl in the room to push her, she's gonna find one of the best boys in the room to push her, to drill with. And so that kind of made me a little bit think, maybe I still need to push them as hard. The way I talk to them and the tone I say it in and the way I break down things need to be a little different, but they can be pushed as just hard as guys as,
I always felt that if the girl felt you believed in them, they'd run through a wall for you.
100%.
Yeah. Rather than trying to motivate us through criticism and sort of trying to pump us up by telling us how we're not doing stuff. If you tell us, or at least me, if you tell me how you believe in me and you think I can actually do it, then that really motivates me. Feeling like someone believes in me really.
But you don't like that at all, right? Now, what motivates you? How should someone coach you?
I mean, I like constructive criticism. Shadow get on me if I'm not doing something right. I mean,
You cool with getting yelled at?
Yeah. That means I just have to work hard.
Excellent. All right, so I guess the final question will be, what do you guys think of Shad?
All right. Yeah. I mean, he's a great coach,
Yeah.
great guy. Lets me stay at his house anytime I need. Like he asked me.
So it's more like family.
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah. Like he asked me the other day. I could stay at his house last night after the tournament, watch the fights. But I mean, I had something at home, so. Yeah. I mean.
Do you take out the trash when you're there? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
At his house. Yeah.
Really nice guy, my dad's house.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Do
sleep
the
on.
dishes.
Yeah. Well. But I mean, I sleep on his couch all the time. So then we train every day. I'm up here. We do 5 a.m.
What does Shad do differently as a coach than every other coach you've been with? And you've been several places.
I mean, just like he gets on you and like he matches your effort. Like if you're working really hard, he'll work hard to get you to that next level.
He'll always put in the same amount of effort as you put in.
So what do you think about Shad? You didn't answer the question.
Well, I mean, I think he's a great coach. I think he knows a lot about wrestling.
I mean, how responsible is he for your success? Is it like this much? Or is it
he's basically brought me from point A to point B. Like, I started making jumps once I started coming to club, and I attribute so much of that to him and the other coaches here. But like, he's really taken me like from like to the next level, you know. And he's always willing to come early and put in extra time that he could be, you know, with his daughter or.
Well, she happens to be here producing this episode of Matburn behind the camera.
And I'll be on the next
She's waving.
episode.
You can't see her.
But I might do a preview in a minute.
Stronghold is pretty well known for their alumni wrestlers coming back. And I don't know who currently comes back to help out, but do you two plan on keeping the tradition going, coming back?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Every time I'm back in town, I'll be up here.
Yeah, I was thinking about. I'm like.
Do those older kids motivate you when you're at practice?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I mean, those are my partners. Because, like, I mean, there's not many people my size who can push me. So, like, I have to grab the college guys.
Like today, for example, he's saying like Willie was in there, and Savion was in there. Who were both, you know, Savion was state champ for McAvoy, he wrestled on Montevallo. He was their 84 this year, and Willie, of course, the heavyweight. I mean, that was his drill partners today. I wrestled with them today. So that's another really good thing, positive thing, is having 2 college programs in our state. But you know, those guys, Montevallo, 9 of the 10 starters last year were from the club. So those guys are training here this spring and so on, and they're going to wrestle and push these guys and girls. So that's huge. I mean, it's very blessed to have that.
The Montevallo Huntington match, the battle for the nest
Yeah.
this year, first time, was awesome.
It was.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys got a chance to go, but you've got to go to the next one. It was very exciting. The fans were all into it. Yeah, I think next year it's in Huntington. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
We do.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
We're all
you.
super proud of you. And we'll follow you. Follow you in Fargo next. Is that the next one?
Southeast Regionals in Fargo.
Junior duels.
Oh, junior duels.
And junior duels, which are where this year? Are they still?
No, so it's changed this year. Girls has their own area and their own location this year. You can talk, you know,
Isn't it in Indianapolis?
Indianapolis, and it's all age
Yeah.
groups, 14U, 16U, and or cadets and juniors
Yeah.
for girls is there, and then boys this year switched from Tulsa to Wisconsin. So yeah, boys, it's about the same distance now for boys. I know Tulsa's like 10-12 hours, where we're driving to Wisconsin is 10-12 hours.
Are they at the same
So-
time?
At the same time, I think.
I assume Jeff Williams is going to go to Wisconsin.
Yeah, he'll be going, and we'll have a good team. I think this year. I think we have a good senior class. We had, you know, with that senior class you talked about, there's 7, you know, boys that are senior national All-Americans. So those, I mean, hopefully all those guys will participate, and then she'll have, you know, she'll lead the girls team, and the girls team has some girls at least have been previously wrestling in freestyle. I think over the past years, there's been a lot of teams for girls wrestling that have not participated in free, like it might have been the first freestyle event that some of those girls on the team last year that ever wrestled, and they showed up to junior duels, you know, which is a pretty high level of wrestling. So now most of the girls that will be on the team have had some previous and so on. And Lily has done a great job of pushing girls and building these teams to, you know, for our state. So I think that's going to help a lot this year too.
Yeah, she's helping train the Fargo team.
The Fargo, and she's the head coach of the junior girls team too.
Yeah, the duels are so much fun, aren't
Yeah, they're so much fun.
They did well, and hopefully we'll have a good team this year that we can make a run on the boys if we can get fill in some spots and get some of the. But they're still reluctant of kids. Sometimes this is probably the only downfall right now. Like kids who've been state champs, it's really hard to pull all those kids to go out and wrestle at junior duels or Fargo and so on. And I think the state is doing better than we even show sometimes on the radar, because some guys are still home not participating, if that makes sense. And so, there's every year we'll have last minute we'll have to fill 2 or 3 spots for junior duels teams of kids that might have not even placed in Alabama, which I'm not saying downplaying it, but it does hurt when you go into the national level of duels. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping this year we can kind of fill the team out right and have a really good team for both girls and guys. So we won't do cadets this year because it's in Utah still. So just cost effectively, we just can't do it. So but we'll have a good Fargo team. So
All right, so we'll see you back here in July, national champs at Fargo, right?
yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Nice. All right, well, thanks for watching. Matburn out.